Okay, here we are in front of the green curtain again. Something that I'm thinking about right now. I heard Andrew Smith, he's done decades of cool stuff, tech, across sectors, one of the co-founders of Savory Fund. So they put the restaurant franchises into a fund that can be invested in, which is a really cool concept. Anyway, I heard him speak at Silicon Slopes, and I loved how he said you cannot skip steps. And he's done it across sectors, built companies, sold them, and there's wisdom that comes from that. And as I build Atlas Tea Company, that wisdom of you cannot skip steps. There's an order to things. And what I'm thinking about right now and today is we're all talking about connection. And that word is in Ted Lasso's hilarious style, semantic satiation. We've all heard it so many times. And what does it mean? And I want to apply Andrew Smith's wisdom to that word. You cannot skip steps to connection. And what I have been really curious about for a long time, and it's the theme, what in the Atlas is going on, is what are the steps to connect? And it really is the Atlas algorithm. It has to be done in both of you. If it's a pair that wants to connect, if it's a group that wants to connect, there are just certain steps, and you cannot skip the steps. Otherwise, you will not achieve connection. We want to skip steps and connect. It's so common to hear this word connection and like, no, let's connect, disconnect to connect, get off your devices to connect. But what I am not hearing are what are the steps to connect. So if I want to connect with someone and I'm in networking situations all the time, I'm making sure my fear is held in my deep belly, which is where it originates. So I want to share my fear, meaning the fear in my body is managed. I keep it deep, I keep it low, feet on the ground, mountain pose. I'm sharing my fear. The person that I'm in conversation with has no idea, but I'm sharing my fear. So my fear is centralized and located where it originates, in the deep belly. That's number one, because once my fear is managed, then my chest can open up and I can actually absorb what's being said, the topic, the experience shared, the story. That's the first step. When there's fear involved, you cannot connect. It's the antithesis of connection. Fear blocks connection. If your body is in fear, and what I should absolutely reframe that, our body is almost always in fear. If the fear is not managed, if it's not shared, like centralized where it originates, in the deep belly, feel your feet, mountain pose, grounded. The nervous system is an electrical system. What I understand about electricity and having it available to us is it has to be like, there has to be a grounding wire. It has to be safe, and so sharing our fear with the ground, keeping it really managed in the deep belly is that grounding wire for the nervous system of the body. Our energy is available to us. It's available to others. Connection is about shared energy. So number one, share your fear. You can't see where my hand is, but it's on my deep belly. That's where it originates. Keep it localized there. Your feet grounded like a grounding wire to keep energy safe so it can then be available too, like you're energized for it as well. It just keeps it safe. It's available and safe. Share your fear. And then something that also needs to happen, the next step, is I have to believe that I deserve to be seen, heard, understood, and loved. And that's the empowered and innocence. I have to believe that. And that belief is also held in the deep belly. That's why so many of us are confused. That's why mental health is so mysterious to us. It's because both things are held in the deep belly. The fear is there, and then also the empowerment is in the deep belly, where we're really empowered in our innocence. I deserve to be seen, heard, understood, and loved. And that's, if we know that we deserve it, we're empowered in our innocence, guess what? We aren't going to try to compete or jockey for position. And that's really part of connection. If I'm empowered in my innocence and I'm sharing my fear, it's all deep belly stuff, then automatically I'm fully alive in this present moment. Meaning I can absorb what you're saying and I can offer too. It's like, whoa, okay, that's a cool experience. Or, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. And my chest is nice and open and full. And those are the steps. And you cannot skip the steps to connect. Otherwise, the result that we often walk away from a connection, like either any sort of interaction, whether I'm sitting by somebody or I'm listening to somebody or I'm at a dinner party or, whatever in a shop, like it doesn't matter what the situation is. So what ends up happening is we walk away from that in grief. We're so often grieving after a conversation or a connection because we don't believe we were seen, heard, understood, and loved. And it automatically sends our nervous system into grief. And then we think about well, that was a waste of time. Or why did she say that? That was not nice. I don't feel good. I don't feel seen at all. They jump to a conclusion. And now I'm processing the interaction that someone might call connection. But if I'm processing afterward and I'm hurt or wondering why was that said or why that was a waste of time, we're so often grieving after being in conversation or with people or at a networking event. We're in grief a lot about it, and it's because we're skipping steps to connection. We cannot skip the steps. And the first one is share your fear, be empowered in your innocence, and then fully alive in the present moment. And then it feels like connection. Then it's like, whoa, okay, I'm with you and you're with me and I can absorb and I can offer and I can scale myself. That's something I haven't really talked about yet. But when you're empowered in your innocence, you know how to scale. Previously, the way I presented, because I was very disempowered in my innocence, I would really shrink myself. I would be the listener. I didn't even try to be seen. I didn't even try to be heard. Somehow I thought that was noble. It ends up being very unsatisfying. I end up feeling very alone. And so that empowered in innocence means I'm going to scale myself appropriately. I deserve to be seen too. And so if someone's talking over me or scaled too big, I'm going to ground. I'm going to feel that strength in my deep belly, that I'm empowered in my innocence, that I deserve to be seen, heard, understood, and loved. If I need to leave the conversation, I'm going to do what it takes. So I'm scaled appropriately too. It's so tricky because guess what? The other person has to do the same thing. Share their fear, be empowered in their innocence, because if they aren't scaled appropriately in their innocence, not empowered in your innocence, then they may be too big or they may be too small or they just aren't the right size, and they jockey and they compete for a position or the best story or more stage time in a conversation. So both people have to do the same thing. Share your fear, be empowered in your innocence, and then be fully alive in the present moment. And it's really gorgeous. Once that happens, it's magic because no one's in grief after. That's the point. We want to be at a place of human interaction where neither party is in grief when they exit, when it's time to say, okay, good night, bye, okay, I gotta go. No one's in grief. Bargaining, well, if I would have just said this, or if I would have just, I don't know, left the conversation sooner, then I wouldn't have had to hear that, or whatever. The whole goal in connection is that you aren't in grief afterward. Because if you feel invisible in a networking event or in a conversation, you're going to grieve. You're going to think that was a waste of your time and energy, your life force, all of I deserve to be seen, heard, understood, and loved. And it ends up being these many trauma experiences, because that's what trauma is. I wasn't seen. You can't be heard if you're not seen, and you can't be understood if you're not heard, and you can't be loved if you're not understood, heard, and seen. You cannot skip the steps. Everyone agrees we want connection. We don't even know the steps to connect, and you cannot skip the steps, as Andrew Smith said, and I hold that to be completely true. Don't skip